Good afternoon and welcome to RPG Storytelling. Today is Friday, March 19th, 2021, and this is another episode of Grain Prompts Live, where we go through and discuss in detail various backstory starters that you can use to help build your RPG characters' backstories and to give them more depth, give them more intrigue and more fun, more oomph, if you will. But before we jump into our grain prompts for today, of which we have three, I've got a couple of announcements that I want to run through really quickly. But before I jump into the announcements, I want to go ahead and post in chat all of our links so that you don't have to go hunting for us. You can literally just click on a link and go. We've got our website link, which is brand new. That is rpgstorytelling.com. We've got our Twitch, which you're watching right now. We've got our Discord community, which is growing. It's imbued with so much love and community that it's just fabulous. So come and join us with that. We've also got our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where you can keep up with our various news posts and whatever else that we throw out. And then also our YouTube channel, which is starting to grow. What we're doing with our YouTube channel is we're putting all of our live streams that you're like what you're watching right now. We're moving all of those over to YouTube so that you can watch these videos anytime you want. Speaking of which, this week I posted two of our previous. Hey, Dr. Wavern, thanks for joining us. With the YouTube, we're moving all of our Twitch live streams, the videos on demand, over to YouTube so that you can watch them anytime you want or as often as you want. So you can watch them whenever, and you're not limited to that 14-day time limit that Twitch keeps them around. So, Mariva, thank you for joining us. I was just about to talk about you here in just a second. We have some big news this week. As of Monday, RPG Storytelling is now a Twitch affiliate, which means that we unlock a lot of various things for you, my fans, our audience, our community, everything. First of which is subscriptions. You can now actually support us through Twitch. You can click on that subscribe button. There's like 3 different tiers, I think, but it grants you the ability to do a lot of things. I haven't really focused in on what all the subscriptions are going to grant you yet, but it's going to grant you a lot of things as we go through. I'm still developing. I'm still in shock that we actually made it. I'm not shocked really, but I'm excited. That's what it is. But I wanted to thank first and foremost. Yay! Thank you for the subscribe, Amy. I've got to move these things around so that they actually display in the proper places. But we now have 3 subscriptions for our channel. Dr. Wyvern, you just subscribed. We also have Mariva026 was our very, very first subscriber. And then also Serotonin AFK. So I want to thank all 3 of you and all of our future subscribers for loving our channel, for loving what we do, and for supporting us in every way that you can. So I want to thank you so much. One of the other things that popped up is that we can now do Twitch emotes and bits, or bit badges. So I'm going to post in chat all 3 of the current emotes that we have available to us. So they're really cute. They're little purple kitties. I'm looking to actually find an artist so we can actually create some that are custom tailored just for RPG storytelling. But for now, we've got some really cute purple kitties that I thought was appropriate for us. I love purple, as you can tell from the background and all the coloration we do, and definitely love cats. I've got 2 of my own, and a lot of our fans love cats. So I wanted to put that out there as like the first starting point of, we have cats. We love cats. Show us your cats. So which reminds me, we actually put together just this week a brand new Show Us Your Pets channel on our Discord server. So you can show off all of your cute little pets and animals that you come across. And it's just basically a way to build our community. So keep sharing those photos on our Discord. Let's see. So I want to thank everybody for our RPG Storytelling Twitch affiliate. It was because all of our followers, Monday night, we actually made a good little push and we reached our 50 followers for reaching that affiliate level, which unlocked all of this. Oh, thank you guys so much. I'm loving these emotes as they're coming up. So I'm glad you guys can actually have access to those now. I'm gonna love those for a long time. If you know of any artists that can do really good emotes and bit badges, let me know, and so we can put us in contact so that we can actually maybe get some custom emotes for y'all. I've already got a couple of ideas of what I'm looking for, but looking for the artist too. So let's see what else. So many good things going on. Let's see. So that takes care of that first announcement. Next is, if you haven't already heard, RPG Storytelling has our own website now. This is brand new as of about a week or two ago. And the website is including everything that you love about RPG storytelling. We have all of our grain prompts, or at least we're working on getting all of our grain prompts put up there. When I originally started RPG Storytelling back in August, I was putting out just image versions of our grain prompts, and those were getting posted to our social media, meaning Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. What I'm doing now is I'm going through all of those old ones and taking the first image out of what was usually like a 3 or 4 image set, taking that first image and putting it into a blog article, and then taking all the rest of those images, the 2, 3, and 4, and turning them actually into a blog article, and then adding and editing and putting in so much more information that you can find about each grain prompt, so that you can better develop your characters' backstories. And by doing this and creating the blogs out of these grain prompts, I'm able to actually offer more information. I'm actually able to format it better, so it's easier to read, it's easier on the eyes, it's easier to find the information that you're looking for. Already we've got quite a few on the website, and I'm constantly working on putting more up there, both the older ones and converting them, or writing brand new ones. I think it was either late last week or earlier this week, I had actually written a blog article. It's just a straight article, it's not actually a grain prompt, that went through and talked about what a character backstory is and why it's so important for RPG games. So I encourage you to go through and read that. It talks about what you can do with it, what it encompasses, a lot of the different things you can include in it. It also goes over some of the formatting things you could possibly include in your character's backstory, as far as what you write for you versus what you give to your dungeon master or game master or lore keeper. So definitely check those out, and those are under the articles link on the rpgstorytelling.com website. And then while you're on the website, definitely check out our videos, which are being linked in from our YouTube channel. Also, we have information about our Questlandia. Just this past Friday, we had our very first game, our very first inaugural debut of our Questlandia one-shots. What Questlandia is a twice a month one-shot. So Delcia, 1975. My characters always evolve during the game. I never made a story behind my character, for instance. It just evolved. Yeah, that's exactly what most characters are supposed to do. They're supposed to evolve as you're playing the game. But one thing you have to keep in mind is that every character had a life before they became an adventurer in whatever game system you're playing, whether it be Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft, Warhammer, Stargate, SG-1, Star Wars, Pathfinder, or Call of Cthulhu. All of these characters, before they reach that session 1 or session 0, that very first game in your game's story, they had a life before they got there. So these character backstories are great for detailing or coming up with different things that your character did before they became an adventurer in that first game session. And in a lot of instances, the person that's leading the game, the dungeon master, game master, lore keeper, or whoever, can actually pull things from those character backstories that they can actually put into the rest of the game to help imbue that game with more things that are personal just for your character. I mean, not everything you write is going to be put in there like that, but there's a lot of good things that can be taken from character backstories that will help to create more story for your DM, so that they can, instead of just running their own story, they can actually pull your character into a story that is geared just for them. Hey, Robin, welcome. Let's see. So hopefully that explains a little bit more about what the character backstories are for, Delcia. And I hope that the grain prompts that I've put together, both via social media and via our website, will help to kind of inspire you to see what you can come up with. And if you have any ideas for things that you would love to see on in our grain prompts, definitely let us know, either through chat here or through our social media, or definitely through our Discord community. But anyways, back to our Questlandia. What that is twice a month, meaning the second Friday and fourth Friday of every month, we get together as a community to play games. Most of them are going to be one-shot games, meaning they're designed to be run within a single night or maybe 2 or 3 nights, depending on the length of the game. But unlike a lot of other streams where you have a specific cast of players and you see them every single episode, with Questlandia, what we're doing is we're actually making it a community-based rotation of cast members. So that means that every single one of you, whether you have experience playing RPGs or not, you can join our cast as a rotating cast member, as a rotating player, or maybe even a guest DM spot, to help us play these games. This past Friday, we played a game called Magic Village for Sale, which was written by MT Black and is available for purchase via dmsguild.com. That's DMSGUILD.com. So that was the first game we played. It was a great 4.5, 5-hour game that was really easy to play. It was really well put together, and it was just fun. It was kind of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets Dungeons and Dragons. It was so much fun, and I'm glad that all of our players had a lot of fun as well. Not today, obviously, but next Friday. Thank you, Robin. We had so much fun playing it. But next Friday, March 26th, we haven't nailed down the time yet. It's probably going to be either 11 or 12. I'm thinking probably 12, just make life easy. We are going to be playing another one-shot. This one's going to be a longer one. We're actually starting it earlier in the day so that we can fit as much of it in as possible. Because we've got players that are from Europe, so they're way east of where I am, so they're further in the future, I guess. But this game it's going to be called The Lich Queen's Begotten, also written by MT Black and available via dmsguild.com for purchase. Yep, yeah. So all of our games are available for everybody. So like Delcia, you're in Europe, so we would love to have you join one of our games. We will, if we can find the right game, we will start it earlier in the day just for players like you who are that much further ahead of where I am, which is in California, on the west coast of the United States. So it's good to have as many players as we can. That way we can keep these games going as frequently as possible. Right now we've got them set up for the second and fourth Fridays. You never know. Down the road, we may decide to move it to every Friday. But that's going to require more DMs because I can't do it all, obviously. But So we want all of our community members to join us, and to if you would like to join us in that rotating cast, we try to take about 4 or 5 cast members per game, just to keep it easy-ish. We make it so that you can easily join. If, as you notice, right here at the bottom of this little image, there's a Start Your Adventure Today, and then it's got a Discord link. Well, to find that Discord link, you can actually just click on it right here, which says you got our just posted all of our links in our chat again. You got website, Twitch, and then Discord. Just click that Discord link and it'll take you right to our community. And once you're in the community, once you've joined us, but completely free, by the way, just let us know in a message. Just tag RPG Storytelling, use the little @ symbol, and then RPG Storytelling, and let us know that you're interested in joining our Questlandia games, and we will get you added to that group. And we'll, as the games come up, we will get you added as we're able to. And one of the things we're trying to do with these games is, it's great to have people that can actually play. It's so much fun to have people that have that experience. But we're doing something very special with it, in that if we have a group for a specific game that all of them have played before, I'll generally try to play it so that the game is a little more difficult, or they might run into more challenges, because they know what goes on in these games. But if we have even one player at the table in this group of 4 or 5 players for that specific game, if we even have one player that has never played an RPG game before, or has never played in that game system before, we will do our best to run it as a beginner-friendly game. Meaning that doesn't matter if the character levels are higher, we'll run it as if we're teaching you how to play. We'll guide you every step of the way. Yeah, Mariva, laughing is always good. Mariva is actually going to be our brand new player for our game on the 26th for the Lich Queen's Begotten. The character levels are going to be like character level 14, but since Mariva is a brand new player, we're going to run it beginner friendly, meaning that we're going to help her and guide her through these things. We're going to try to leave most of it up to her to decide what she wants to do. But if she has any questions about what she can do, like what spells to offer, or what weapons to use, or what she can do in the adventuring portions outside of combat, or like interactions with other characters, we'll guide and kind of coach as we go. As the DM, I can't tell you what you should do, but I can always tell you what you can do, what the things you have available to you. Not every DM will do that, but I love to help new players learn how to play these games and to get as much enjoyment out of them as possible. So that's the way we run our Questlandia games. And we're actually going to be, hopefully in the future, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do it for this game, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to work in so that on occasion we might actually have a guest audience member, meaning one of y'all, one of the ones that aren't actually playing at the table on screen. We might actually have you interacting with our players as an NPC or as a non-player character, so that you can help to create variations in the storyline that I may not think of. So what would happen in those instances is I would get together with that specific person or persons, as the case may be, and kind of coach them on the storyline and what that NPC does and says and things like that, or could say. And then instead of me thinking up things on the fly to talk about through that character, I would have that audience NPC do the conversing via chat, and then I would just read it off to the players, so that it involves the community even more in our games. So it's going to be experimental, and we'll see how it plays out, but we'll have fun with it and enjoy it. Let's see. So Delcia says, besides World of Warcraft, I never really played real-life RPGs. Well, Delcia, this is a perfect opportunity. For using these Questlandia games, you can actually start to play these games And you don't have to worry about committing yourself to years and years and years and years of a single campaign. These games are meant to be played in a single night or maybe 2 or 3 nights, depending on the length of the game itself. Most games range between 3 to 10 hours, roughly, depending on the levels of complexity within the game. So it's always a good way to teach is by using these one-shots. A lot of the players that I've got in my home campaigns are brand new, or were brand new when they first started playing. Like Mariva, she started in a campaign that I'm currently running. She came in after it already started. This past Saturday was her very first game, so it was wonderful to get to start to teach her how to play these games. So it's an absolutely fun experience for me, and I love being able to teach through these things, and helping with character backstories and helping develop characters and all sorts of fun stuff. So, but it gets so much fun. Let's see. And just to go backwards for half a second, if you haven't already done so and you are able to do so, I would absolutely love it if you could click that little subscribe button down underneath where I'm talking about. So down there somewhere, there's a subscribe button. That way you can actually help to support us and to keep us being able to do what we're doing. So it's absolutely. Thank you, Robin. You're absolutely amazing. I wasn't expecting so quickly, but thank you so much. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to give Robin some more love by posting all of our emoticons that we have available now. So these are the 3 emoticons we currently have. They're fun little purple kitties that are just great because I love purple, as you can probably tell, and I love cats, so it's perfect. But we're looking for artists to helpfully create new customized emoticons for our channel. So if you know of any, let me know. Anyway, so that's about all we have for Questlandia. Next, I want to take a small detour. Just this past week, there was some extreme violence that happened in Atlanta, Georgia, that involved racism and murder. There was an individual that decided, for whatever reason, I can't read their mind, to attack 3 different spas and murder 8 people, 6 of which were in the Asian American Pacific Islander community. So with that, I wanted to take a stand for a moment and say that RPG storytelling condemns racism in all of its forms. And that includes the hatreds and violence that frequently follow in its wake. But this is not limited to just the Pacific Islander Asian American community. This is also the Black community, the African American community, the Hispanic community, Latinx communities, also transgender communities, which I'm a part of, basically the entire LGBTQIA plus community, of which many of you are probably or possibly a member of. We want to take a stand and say that we stand in solidarity with both our Asian American and Pacific Islander fans, colleagues, and fellow gamers and storytellers, as well as the African American community, the Hispanic Latinx community, and all of the LGBT community, and all of those that are also frequently included into these different groups or groupings that are frequently oppressed in various ways. So I wanted to take a stand for a moment and say that we absolutely condemn racism in all of its forms, as well as the various phobias or classicism or ableism or sexism or all of those. So I wanted to take a moment and just let you know that this is our stance for RPG storytelling. So we do everything in our power to make RPG storytelling an all-inclusive community. It's a safe space. Our Discord community is a safe place. we take a very harsh stand with these various hatreds and violences and oppressions. I've written a set of guidelines for the Discord channel saying that if something happens in our Discord community, I will have one single counseling session with the offending of individual or persons, and give them a chance to hopefully redeem themselves. If it's not possible, they're gone. I won't stand for it within our community. So I take a stand and make sure that you all know that I love every one of you. And it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, height, ethnicity, culture, ancestry, sex, gender, ableism, or anything. I love you all, and I want you all to be a part of the community and to have a safe place that you can come and enjoy this RPG and gaming community. And by gaming community, I mean role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games, computer games, card games, board games, computer games, phone games, and pretty much any game that you play makes you a gamer. So I want you to know that you are loved, regardless of your community. So, gonna back off that for a moment and jump into our grain prompts for today, so that we can have some information that you can actually use. See, Mariva says, and I'm sure we also agree that we do not condemn or condone animal abuse either. We definitely do not. Animal abuse is one of those things that needs to be abolished, period. Thank you for pointing that out, Mariva. So, jumping into our grain prompts. Very bad transition, but we'll do it anyways. So, we've got 3 grain prompts that we're going to talk about today. The first one is a week of beginnings. As you'll notice as you go through our grain prompts, that we have 6 different categories that we place the various grain prompts into. I forgot to grab some water, Delcia. Maybe Dr. Wyvern can grab me a bottle or something. I can have something to drink. But anyways, you'll notice that as you'll go through our grain prompts, we have them separated into different categories. We've got simple beginnings, which talks about where your character came from, where they were born, where they were raised, where they got their early education, their family and friends at the early ages, and things like that. We've got likes and dislikes, which is a pretty simple and broad category because it can include a lot of different things. But it talks about the different things that your character likes and dislikes, or loves and hates, and those types of things. So it's like, do they prefer purple or chartreuse? Do they prefer chocolate or vanilla? Do they prefer red dragons over green dragons? That type of thing. So it's a lot of different things that you can have in this category. Thank you, Dr. Wyvern. She brought me some water. So let me take a drink real quick, as Delcia recommends. Much better. Thank you for the suggestion, Delcia. So that's likes and dislikes. We've got developing habits. As you, just like you as a player do, where as you go through life, you start developing various habits that become part of who you are. I agree, Mariva. She is the best wife ever. So with developing habits, these are things that become part of who you are as a person. Your character is no different. As they go through their life, both before they start their adventuring and during your actual game and after the game, they start to develop various habits for how they do things, how they talk, various things that they say, how they act in different situations, and things like that. So those are things that come in developing habits, of which we actually have 1 or 2 of them today within what we're going to be talking about. Then we have hidden secrets. Hidden secrets is the category where we talk about all those juicy little details that every character should have. These are things that make your character so much more interesting, because these are things your character will want to keep to themselves, but may choose to let out, or if they get let out against their will, it's a possibility that they could hurt somebody else or hurt them based on the knowledge of what's let out, and different things like that. Let's see. So that was simple beginnings, likes and dislikes, developing habits, hidden secrets, faith and beliefs is another one of our categories. And just by that title, you would think faith and beliefs means gods, deities, and things like that. Well, it started out that way, but I had other plans for it as well. So it could mean believing in gods and deities, or believing in religion and things like that. But it could also mean believing in dragons, or believing in fairies, or unicorns, or various mythological creatures, or believing in the strange and unusual, like ghosts and werewolves and vampires, which, if you've looked into RPGs at all, these are various things that will tend to pop up in a lot of games, as far as like ghosts and zombies and werewolves and vampires. And brand new, I think it was just this past week, Wizards of the Coast unveiled some brand new fae creatures that they're playtesting, that players can actually create characters based off of these new player classes, or player races, I should say, being rabbit folk, owl folk, fae hobgoblins, and my personal favorite, fairies. We can finally play as a fairy in Dungeons & Dragons. I'm absolutely excited about this. I don't know if I'll actually get a chance to actually play one, but I'm glad it's finally there. Yeah, I'm really giddy about it too, Mariva. So those are the 5, but the last one we're going to talk about, which is our first game prompt today, is before adventuring. These are the topics that discuss what got your character from being just a person to wanting to and actually becoming an adventurer. So that's what we're going to talk about first. So let me read this to you, just in case the print is too small for you. It says, Week of Beginnings. It is no surprise that the very first session of any new RPG game, meaning Session 0 or Session 1, depending on your game, can be nerve-wracking and stressful, not only for you, the player, but also for your character as well. You probably won't know who your new fellow adventurers are, or what they're like, or how the story will evolve throughout the campaign. But the real stress for the character likely arose during that week or so prior to that very first meeting at the inn or tavern or wherever they happen to be meeting. So now is the time to ask your character, or decide for your character, depending on how you want to work it, what they were doing during that last week or so, and what led them to this particular inn or tavern. So, things you can look at during this week or so just prior to meeting at this inn or this tavern or this location of where your group is meeting for the very first time. Things you can look at are, where did your character come from? With all RPG games, they're based on a world system. And most worlds are fairly large, and many will probably include large continents or a large series of continents that kind of circle the globe. So it's not just you have a globe and all the things are happening on just one side. You got things that are happening all the way around it, top to bottom too. So it's possible that your character came from up to thousands and thousands of miles away from where your players are actually meeting for the first time as their characters. So during that last week or so before they meet, what was your character actually doing? Were they traveling from a location to this place? You can look at, to give you kind of an example. This coming up, or let's see, not tomorrow, but Saturday of next week, so March 27th, I've got a brand new homebrew campaign that I'm starting with a group of friends of mine, which includes Dr. Wyvern and Mariva and Tattooed Vet Girl 35, which is Robin, and a couple of other friends. And we are putting together a brand new story that I've been writing for a while. So, and one of the things that I noticed, and I kind of planned in there, it's because I worked with each of the players to define and decide where they were from. Excuse me. Each of the characters is from hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from where they're actually meeting. The entire campaign is based on the continent of Faerun, but it's not along the Sword Coast. We're going to pretty much avoid that if I can help it. But it's along the south edge of the continent and going farther east into the deserts of the Purple Plains of Dust and the Raurun Desert. So it's going to be all in that whole area along the bottom south edge of the continent, which encompasses thousands and thousands of miles worth of territory, just from end to end, thousands and thousands of miles. If you include square feet or square mileage, it's hundreds, if not millions, of square miles. And that's just surface level. You've also got underground and underdark and everywhere else. But so these characters are all coming from different places. So I'm going to have each of my players, hopefully, over the course of the next week or so, and possibly into the very first game or two, start to define what they were doing during that last week. So Mariva, Dr. Wyvern, Tattooed Vet Girl, you got homework. So you get to start deciding what you were doing during that week. Were there any shops or villages, or any villages or thing that you I'm running out of words. Were there any villages or cities that you encountered along your way to that last destination where you meet everyone? Were there any adventures that you had along the way? Were there possibly any monsters or opponents that you had to fight to be able to get there safely? So that's dealing with your travels, getting to that last destination of where you meet everyone. Another thing you can consider is, what is your purpose for getting there? I know that one of my characters, being played by Dr. Wyvern, her character has been in this spot, in this city, for probably a couple months. But she started very far away in her earlier life. But things happened and that took her away from that location and brought her westward. She happened across a specific character that cared for her for a little while and brought her back to health. And eventually she made her way down to this city, just as a place to live and things to do. Because there's a lot of things to do in that area. Another one of my characters lost her memory like total amnesia. So she only remembers like the last 2 years worth of her life, being in her mid to late 20s, I believe. But after doing some healing where she was originally injured, she managed to wind her way back westward. She couldn't define why, but she knew she had a calling back westward. So in her journeys, she makes her way back in the direction of this city as well. Others were pulled or making their way in this direction because of a need for investigating magic or finding magic or other things. And there's basically different reasons that each character has that are pulling them towards this location. So I don't want to give too much away to my players because they are going to get to start experiencing it in like a week. But these are things you can start to think of during that first week, or that last week, just before the game starts. It could also be possible that you've got an innkeeper or tavern keeper or shopkeeper or whoever who's just tired of the daily grind of sitting in this business location, doing the same things over and over again. And so they quit their job and decide on going on a life of adventure. So they travel to this point, probably from a more local community, and they get to this location and become part of the adventure. Could also be that maybe your character is running away from a crime scene that they may or may not have been the perpetrator of. So now they're on the run and they're trying to get away as far away from where it happened, so that they can kind of protect themselves. It could be that for like the science fiction based games. Let me see. So much information. It's hard to keep track of what all I've said. Let me open up my thing so I can reference everything that I wrote, because I put this all in the last blog article I did for this particular grain prompt. It could be possible that they grew up on a farm or in a poor community of some sort, and maybe their family was starting to die off from starvation, and maybe that family sent your character away to make a life for themselves so that they wouldn't have to worry about being poor, and maybe so that they could send a little bit of that coinage back home to the family to help keep the family alive. Let's see, or maybe like I was just getting into the science fiction version, maybe you had a scientist type character that accidentally created a world-ending virus, and now they have to go on an epic journey across the galaxy to try to reverse the damage that they've caused. So it's right there. You can already see a good storyline for why this character is going on this adventure, because they need to find the things that will help to end this virus that they somehow caused or created. They're going on this adventure to run away from the punishments that are pretty immediate. Hopefully also run away from the virus itself to keep themselves alive. But there's a lot of different things you can see in there already that are helping to define who your character is and where they came from in kind of a roundabout way, as well as what they were doing during that last week and why they are in this place. So the specific place is probably going to be chosen by your dungeon master or lore keeper or game master or whoever. And working with that person, you can start to define reasons for why your character is in this place. So these are all different things that you can look at as far as helping to decide what happened during that last week. Because that's where the adventure really starts for your character, is before that very first game session. Because there's something that brought them into adventuring. Question is, what was it? And why is it so important that they become that adventurer? But, like I was talking about just a moment ago, there's a lot of moving around that goes into playing these games. Whether it's moving around a small village or moving around a city, moving around the countryside, moving between cities, moving between continents and islands, moving between worlds and planes. So there's a lot of moving around that goes into these games. So that brings us into our next grain prompt, which, as you can see, is from our Simple Beginnings category. Let me take another drink real quick. And let me go ahead and read this one for you, just in case it's too small for your device for you to read. It says, for many of us, meaning the players, the idea of having a single place we could call home while we were growing up was often a fantasy or a distant dream at best. The thought of moving from one location, between homes, between cities, states, countries, wherever, to another every few years or months or weeks, or even less sometimes, can feel more like a guarantee than just a matter of chance. The question is, did your character have to endure this constant moving as well, or did they grow up in the same home since the day they were born? My wife, Dr. Wyvern there, she grew up in the same home her entire life. She didn't have to worry about moving around as a kid. She was always in that same home. She had a place she could call her own. When she graduated high school and went into college, then she started moving to a few different places. Whereas me, I moved around a lot as a child. I was born up in Washington. When I was like a year and a half, we moved down to California. Moved several places different in California, and then we moved to Arizona. Moved several places within Arizona. Then I joined the Air Force and moved more places and got out of the Air Force, went to college, moved around more places, got married, moved around more places. So it's my life is all about moving around. So as you can see, that stability can often be difficult to find for some characters. If your character is anything like my wife Amy, where they grew up in the same place, they've probably got a stable place that they can return to. They've got a place that they can really call home. So there's the stability, there's the possibility of friends that have been developed over a lifetime until the need to move comes up. So those relationships kind of develop over that stability. Whereas if the character is anything like myself, having that stability is something that can only be a dream. It's more you want to find meaning in wherever your character happens to be at that moment. Like me, just between birth and graduation from high school, I went to, I think, 12 different schools. No, 10 different schools by the time I graduated high school. I lived in 3 different states. I lived in probably 15 or so different towns or cities. So having that ability to develop those lifelong friendships, not an option. I didn't get the chance to develop lifelong friendships. Your character might not have the chance to develop those lifelong friendships. So it's hoped that your character won't become what's classically called a loner type character, meaning that they tend to start relying just on themselves and they don't get out as often, they don't develop friendships that often. I was lucky in the fact that I was able to develop friendships from the various places I went, but a lot of those didn't last because I did move or somebody else moved. So it's harder to develop the stable relationships between your character and the people from those places where they lived, but it is possible. It is entirely possible. I've got one friend that I met back in high school, back in the 90s. Yes, I'm that old. That even though we lost track of each other for better part of 20 years, we got back together via social media, and we were able to rebuild that relationship, and we've been going strong ever since. It's entirely possible that your character might be the same way, where somebody that they lost contact with years or even decades previously might somehow run into that same person again within your game storyline, and rekindle that friendship or that relationship. Sometimes even a more romantic relationship might even develop from it. So these are all different things that you can think of, or that you can think about while developing your character's backstory, as far as where was their home? Did they have a stable home? Were they moving a lot? Was there a reason why they were moving a lot? That's one thing you definitely want to look at, particularly for characters that move around a lot while they're growing up, is what was the purpose for having to move around so much? Was it because your family was poor and they had to go from town to town or village to village or city to city looking for work? Was it a case where your community was or your character's community was tribal and nomadic by nature, which there are a lot of cases where that is true, meaning that as an entire community, the entire community moved from place to place, not just your family. So in those cases, you can actually develop some pretty good, stable relationships because your entire community is moving along with you, your character. Let's see, it's possible that your character's family, or maybe even just your character, got into the wrong side of the law and were constantly on the run to try to keep hidden from the law. Or maybe they were going questing as a family, or maybe even just you as the child were going questing to uncover a certain thing, whether it be an object or a certain enemy or education or prophecies. Prophecies are a good one for actually developing those movement-based characters, because they got to keep moving for some reason. So these are things you can think of as you're going through and looking at why your character is moving around so much while they were growing up. Once they get into the game and things start happening in the game, yeah, they're probably going to be moving around a lot. So that, because they've got different ways they've got to go to be able to do what they need to do within the game. So let's see. Where should we go from there? I'm trying to think of other good things you can think about for this particular topic. That's another thing you can think of, is if your character is moving from place to place, particularly between different places that speak different languages or have different cultural viewpoints, how does your character go about learning about the new place? How do they go about learning the new language, or learning about the new culture, the new religions, the new things that are happening in this new place, as opposed to what they had learned about where they had just come from? So that's one of the things I learned as far as moving around a bunch as a child, is learning about a bunch of different places, learning the different cultural values and different systems of the way things are done in those various places, and learning to adapt within them. That's one of the things I learned, is adaptation is definitely your best friend in many ways. So your character might also have that same viewpoint as far as moving from place to place, learning about the new, and adapting what they come from, and adapting it into what they're now learning. So it's a fun way to explore different cultures, different languages, different communities of peoples, and to see how your character learns to put themselves into those positions. Dr. Wyvern says, keeping in mind that in many systems everybody speaks common, meaning that in game worlds there's usually a common language that most people speak. And she goes on to say, there may, depending on your particular homebrew, be accents or other issues you can play with in that respect. So that's very true. Going from place to place, you can also play with various accents. As a player, you can play with accents, because the new place that you are going to may have one accent, but the place you just came from may have a completely different accent. So it's like moving from France to California. Once you get to California, you're still going to have your French accent, but you're also going to start to pick up on the multitude of different accents that are already in California also, meaning various Asian accents, various African accents, South American accents, European accents, and the various American accents that, or meaning United States American, the accents that may have traversed into California. So the French-speaking person has their own accent, obviously, but they might get to explore playing with new accents as well. One thing that I've learned as a voice actor over the many years is playing with accents. I've been playing with Scottish accents, French accents, some Russian, English, Irish, and a few others that I play with and I utilize for what I need to do. But it's a way to learn about those cultures at the same time. I don't adopt them as my own. They're not my language, but it's a good way to learn about those languages, about those cultures, is through that language and through those accents. So sometimes you might start out as just a funny accent or funny voice or whatever, but you can start to think about it and start to learn based off of what you are basing that accent on for your character. So those are the great things you can look at. But speaking of moving around and learning about new cultures, that leads us into our last topic of today, which goes back to what I was talking about just before we started talking about our grain prompts. And that is the topic of racism and fear of others. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one for you, just because it's an important one to understand. Sorry, I got like hair or something on my face that's driving me nuts. So over the years, role-playing games, RPGs, have become littered with various versions of racism and are many forms of uneducated phobias of those who are different. Thankfully, many RPGs are beginning to realize this and are making efforts to tackle those difficult issues. Aside from those companies' efforts, how does your character handle racism or the various living being related phobias within your game's world? While the possibilities of these situations can become very difficult within both the game and real world, in some instances they can even lead to wonderful learning experiences for both the characters and the players. Within game worlds, I'm going to stick to just game worlds because the topic is too broad and too heart heavy for the real world right now, for what I want to discuss. Within your game's world, the fact that you've got characters that could potentially come from anywhere within the world, meaning thousands and thousands of miles away from each other, it's entirely possible that your characters are going to have very different viewpoints about specific groups. And some of them are not good thinking processes. That's really a bad way of saying it, and I apologize for that. But these different ideologies about specific groups, it could be viewpoints on Dragonborn, or it could be viewpoints on Drow, or bugbears, or goblins, or elves, or whatever. These different viewpoints can actually create some very interesting dynamics that are not always good. The viewpoints hopefully won't be interpreted as being from the player. Hopefully. I really hope that. Hopefully it's just the character, and hopefully it's been put in there specifically as a way to learn. But it's a very, for lack of a better way, I would say it's probably a very dangerous way to play a game, to be able to put these racisms or genderism or sexism or culturalism or classicism or ableism or these various things and use them against characters or use them against NPCs or different groups within the game's world. So, like I said, in my games, I always try to make it as inclusive. I do everything I can to avoid any possibility of these things coming up. I try to play it as just different people come from different areas. You might have strong feelings about a very specific group of people, meaning like marauders that have come into your village, and so you've got feelings against those marauders. That type of thing. Those kinds of situations, they will come up, obviously. But if you're hating, if you have characters, and hopefully not players, if you have characters that are prejudiced in one form or another against an entire group of people, meaning like you've got a dragonborn character that is prejudiced in some way against all halflings for no other reason than they're just halflings, then that becomes a problem. So those are things you want to look at within your games, especially within your own character. So finding these topics, they can definitely be used in good ways, but you have to go about them very, very carefully so as not to make them offensive. You want to, if you are going to include them in your game, go in with the purpose of having it as a learning experience. Discuss with your other players the goals for including this into the game. Don't just go in there and just do it, because then it's going to turn ugly. A lot of players may not react very well to it. But go into it, discuss with the other players and the person leading the game the purpose for why you want to include this in the game through your character. That way you can, as a group, talk about it. You can work through it. You can deal with the issues. You can learn from it. You can grow from it, and come out with new techniques, new ways of handling things to get rid of those things. So that's ultimately what you want to do with these types of things. If you choose to include them in your game, is you want to figure out ways to get rid of these evils within the world. Yes, I will classify racism as an evil. I will include transphobia, homophobia, and all the oppressive isms as evils of the world. I will go on the record and say that. So if you're going to include these things in the game, go in with the purpose that everybody knows of and is aware of, that these are going to be used as teaching tools or learning tools to help your player group and your adventuring group and those within your game's world to learn about these issues, to work through them, to heal from them. But I will say that first and foremost, you are going to want to have a really, really, really good reason for including these things. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but it's good to know that you can, if that's what you want to do. I've already talked about this topic at length before I jumped into the grain problem, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. But I just wanted to let you know that these are possible things that you can include. Just go in with the idea that you know of them, your other players know of them, your dungeon master or game master knows about them, and the reasons for why they're going to be included. So make sure that if you are going to include it and your character is that character that's using the racism or the phobias or whatever, make sure that there's another player character that is going to confront them about it. Use that as a teaching moment. So that's all I'm going to say about it is these are hard topics. So definitely keep that in mind. So that's really all I had for today. Hopefully you all have learned a lot of good things that you can use for creating your character backstories. And you've learned some new tools that you can possibly use. So I'm going to post up all my links again so that you can find them. If you'd like to learn more about these grain prompts and others like them, definitely visit our website, rpgstorytelling.com, and go to the articles link on our page. There you'll find all of our currently placed up there, all of our current grain prompts and other articles that give you more prompts that you can find about creating these character backstories for your character. So that's really all I have for today. So I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for all of your amazing love and support, and for sticking with us through these last, what has it been, 7 months now? Yeah, because I started back in August. It's been back in August. I'm not going to say how many months because I can't remember. I can't think. But there's so much love that I have for you, and I want to thank each and every one of you, and give you a ton of love. So I'm going to give you a little fun there. All my little loving kitties. Going to give them all to you. So I want to thank you all for coming by and saying hi, and helping to carry on this conversation through our chat and everything. Hopefully, within the next several days, I will be uploading this live stream to our YouTube as well. I've got 2 more that I'm putting up there. So hopefully by the end of today, I should have our Questlandia game from last Friday up there. And then hopefully sometime this weekend, I'll have the interview with Brandy Lord, American Witch in Brazil, up there as well. She and I had talked earlier this month about her new experiences with RPG games and character building and character backstories. So definitely check that out once I get it up there. And then also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to click that subscribe button to help support us and to help us to be able to keep putting these things together for you, all the games, all the grain prompts, all the Discord community, the videos, everything. Because without you, I wouldn't have anything to do. So you guys are my life's blood right now. So I want to thank each and every one of you for all of it. And make sure, if you want to join our Questlandia games, to go to our website, click on the Questlandia link, and then read through the information, and then click the link at the bottom. That'll take you directly to our Discord, and let us know you want to join in our games, and we'll get you added to the group. And then last plug for our Questlandia game coming up next Friday, so 1 week from today, at 12 p.m. noon Pacific time. Come back here for our next episode of Questlandia, where we'll be playing the one-shot, The Lich Queen's Begotten. It's going to be a longer game, possibly 8+ hours. So we're going to be taking a few breaks during that, but it's going to be a lot of fun to play. And we're going to have so much fun. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Also, if you want to join our community, you can find the link on our website. You can also find it in the About section down below this video here on Twitch. So our About page has got a bunch of information, and then all of the headers, or most of the headers, are included as links to those specific areas as well. So you can, if you click on the Discord link, it'll take you directly to Discord. Same with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, website, everything. So definitely check us out everywhere you can. Subscribe and follow us everywhere you can. That way you can stay in the loop, and we can have more of these fun little discussions. So until next time, that was the other thing I want to talk about. This coming up Monday, just like every Monday, we have our Monday movie, which is literally just a chance for all of us to come together, to get out of our isolation, to just have fun together. It's not really any purpose other than have a movie on in the background, maybe have some conversation back and forth. The only downside with Twitch watch parties is that you have to have Amazon Prime to be able to watch them, and some of the movies aren't available in every area. So sometimes you may not be able to watch the movie, but hopefully you can join us and be able to see the movies. And we'll enjoy it. If everything goes to plan, and hopefully it'll still be available on Monday, our plan is to watch the movie Moulin Rouge, which came out in the early 2000s, I think it was. I can't remember exactly which year. But it was early 2000s, starring Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. So definitely come check that out. That'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific on Monday. And we'll have some fun. So until next time, meaning Monday and then Friday, I hope that you all have an amazing weekend, and that you have a lot of fun putting together your characters. And if you do go out anywhere, like my wife and I are going out to a movie tonight for the first time in a year, definitely wear a mask, social distance as needed. And when it comes time to get your vaccine, go ahead and get it so that we can help get this COVID-19 virus knocked out completely. So until next time, love you. Bye-bye.